good. We have a small group today, but we'll get started. So, obviously, I'm Scott, and I've been with, I'm on the Venture Philly team, which was formerly the Attican Group, which was founded by Antonio Attican, who actually founded our market center before selling it to Garab about a year and a half ago. So I was born and raised in Philly. I don't know if anyone else was here. We went to Central and then UPenn. I have my career path here just to show you guys I had no background in real estate before I started. I did some sales in the form of business development for a digital marketing company after I graduated college. And then for 5 years after that, I did music, meaning I would perform all around the city, and I gave guitar lessons as well to various students around the city. I kind of stumbled upon real estate because I had a friend that was doing it, and she was just kind of telling me about what she does at work, and it seemed like something I would enjoy because I always liked exploring Philly and, just houses and, talking to people, helping people. So I did a free trial of a real estate exam online to see if I would like it, and it kind of just snowballed from there. So here I am today. My first year, I closed 11 transactions for a little under 4 million in volume, and now I also coach new agents that join my team, Venture Philly, as well. So I think, to me, the most important thing is education for when you're first starting out. It sounds cliche, but it's very true. It's not about money when you first get started. It's about learning. And then the second thing, I don't have it here on the slide, the two things that the first year is about is one, education, and two, establishing yourself to your circle as a realtor and just making sure that people know what you do and that you are a realtor. Don't be afraid to mess up, especially the first year. Don't be discouraged if you do. Literally everybody that you ask has some kind of story of at some point where they screwed something up. It's totally normal. It's going to happen. I personally went like 11 months before my first big screw up. I almost reached the full year, and that was what I did. This is actually a good learning lesson, so you guys don't do this. When you have a buyer and they have an inspection on the house that they buy, if they're getting a loan, you don't want to send the inspection report to the loan officer, because what that does is the lenders are really strict and concerned about any repairs that are needed. So it'll ruin the loan and make it so they'll basically mandate that all of the items on the inspection report are addressed, which no seller is going to do. Inspection reports are going to have like 30 to 40 different things. You kind of normally, when you negotiate based on the inspection, you're kind of picking your battles and picking like major things. So I accidentally sent an entire report to a lender. Fortunately, I was able to switch to a different lender that I work with all the time now, and they were able to save the deal. But it happens to everybody. You're gonna have a story like that at some point. It's totally fine. Make sure, I have down here dive in, meaning make sure you're not waiting for the quote unquote right time. All that is just fear and anxiety talking. It's self-doubt basically manifesting inside of you. We in KW, we call it a secret agent. You don't want to be a secret agent. You want people to know that you're an agent. You don't have to just call a friend that you never talked to in 10 years and be like, hey, I'm a realtor, and then hang up the phone. But, kind of post a lot on social media about what you're doing day-to-day life, working into conversation. Just make sure you're not hiding it because you're afraid to get started. And my last point here, ask a shit ton of questions. That's what I did. I still do. It's the best. Don't feel like you're being annoying by asking people questions. Mentorship is really important. Whether you join a team or not, I joined a team obviously, and I had some great experienced people that I learned from, and I think that's probably what I would attribute my success to from day one. I just had, Antonio Attican, his brother Adam, Aaron Biles on my team as well. Whenever I had a question, they would steer me in the right direction. So I definitely recommend joining a team, at least in the beginning. You don't have to, but I do recommend it. We also have pro coaching, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. It was not around when I joined, but I hear that they have great results with Mike Rosania and Will Roy. So those are two really good things to consider. You want to take as many classes as possible. It's a little weird now because we're all doing virtual. It's not as fun as in-person classrooms, but even so, I know when I started, I would literally, it felt like I was in school again. I was just from like 9 to 5, just taking every class that I could. I just wanted to absorb information. And, the classes are taught by typically experienced agents. And so you can ask them a bunch of questions and you kill two birds with one stone there. I also recommend reading a lot of books. So the MREA book, if you guys aren't familiar, you will be very soon because it's all that we tend to talk about here at KW. It's The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It's written by Gary Keller, who obviously Keller Williams, he founded the company. That has the model there that people find success with here. It's a great book. I think it's being updated to 2.0. I don't know if it's out yet. If it's not, it's coming out very soon. But it's still pretty relevant even from 10, 15 years ago. I like the book on rental property investing by Brandon Turner. If you're familiar with Bigger Pockets, it's a forum for real estate investors and probably the most popular one out there. And even if you don't plan on working with investors, it's really, really good to learn how an investor thinks, because even if you're working with buyers or sellers who aren't investors, there's still, when you're owning a house, there's still elements of investing that are relevant to a purchase or to a sale, especially if they keep their house later and want to use it as a rental and buy a bigger house, for example. The book is really good. It's really easy to digest. It's for like absolute beginners. So I definitely recommend that one. And then one of my favorite books in general, it's just a general self-development book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's probably the most famous one of all time. It sounds like a scammy book, but that's just kind of how titles were written. It's from like 1920 or something. But it's very digestible. The chapters are like 3 pages. And it just kind of teaches you how to be a little more like personable, charming, and how to connect with people in ways that maybe you would take for granted. It's a great book. I definitely recommend it. And then learning scripts is very important too. You're going to get a lot of pushback from people who maybe they're not ready now, maybe they aren't interested, maybe they have a cousin that's a realtor. You want to practice having a retort to every single scenario. And it's not going to be, it's a process and not an event. You're not going to instantly have something to say. It's something that takes practice, and the way to practice it is just by diving in and getting started right away and talking to people. And one of those ways, and I'll touch on this later as well, one of the best ways to practice talking to people is by hosting a lot of open houses, which you can't really do right now, but you will be able to do shortly, I believe, because, you have maybe 20, 30 people coming in every open house that are looking to buy or sell, and that's a lot of conversations to have in one day. It's very important to be passionate too. People really do appreciate when someone loves what they do. I'm sure that you can relate to when you see someone at their job who loves it. You feel more of a connection with them. The way Simon Sinek puts it is people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I think it's important to learn about Philly too, especially if you aren't from here originally. You're kind of selling the city to people. You want to know about neighborhoods, different blocks, different streets. You want to learn about the history a little bit. Whenever I'm with clients, they always appreciate when I know, like, it's almost like I'm a tour guide sometimes, but they always appreciate when I have like a little fun fact about something in the city. But definitely, Philly is your product, basically. Definitely learn about it. Stay on top of the pulse of the city. So, any events that are going on, that's always something good to share with your circle on social media. I subscribe to stuff like Plan Philly, it's called, and you can do this too. It's just a newsletter where maybe like once a week or so, it just has little articles on like things that are coming up in the city, like developments. And those are good ways to touch base with your clients too. Like if they were looking in the Fishtown neighborhood and you see an article in Plan Philly that says a huge development is happening like at this block, like you can send it to them like, hey, I just saw this, I thought of you. Or if they're a seller, you could say, hey, like this development is coming up near your house, like it might be a good time to sell, you know. And just look like you're having fun. I try to, goof off on social media a bit and let people know that I like what I do, and I'm not just going through the motions. I think it's very important to be authentic, and this is feedback I've gotten a lot from my clients that have given me positive testimonials, and what they liked about me is that I feel like I'm real and genuine and not just trying to sell them something. I'm not just trying to make a quick buck. And you shouldn't be trying to make a quick buck, because this is to be successful, you need to build relationships. You want referrals, you want repeat clients. And if you screw someone over for, looking in the short term, you're not going to get that. So you want to be authentic. People really appreciate that. Don't be a robotic salesperson. We all can recognize when someone's being salesy. Like, people aren't stupid. We all know. Just be real. Like, you're a problem solver. You're not a salesperson. That's how I think of it. Someone's looking to buy a house, you can solve that problem. Someone's looking to sell, you can solve that problem. Come from a place of contribution, and not a place of taking money in. So on social media, I try to show interesting things. For example, like if I'm in a cool house that's maybe historic, I'll take a picture of it. When I'm doing an inspection, I'll take pictures and post it. Even if I'm putting an offer, sometimes I'll put, just show that I'm writing an offer. It's kind of like a day in a life. That's kind of the way to think of it. And usually I'll do that in the form of Instagram stories. I think that's the best way to keep it light and, not have to have like a super serious post. I'll post permanent posts on Instagram if they're like maybe a picture of me and my clients at closing or something, or like a nice picture of the city that I took. But I find Instagram has gotten me a lot of business. It's kind of like it's a thing of pictures, and people like looking at pictures, especially of houses. People really do enjoy it. And a lot of people, I don't do this enough, but a lot of people have had success with video and live video on Instagram as well. So like they'll be in an open house or a showing, and they'll just film walking through the house, and people do tend to interact with that. Even if you get one person interacting, like, one lead could lead to a sale. So you definitely want to post a lot of interesting things. So my best lead sources personally, this is different for everybody. My first year, there's two things: open houses and social media. So for open houses, again, it's tough right now because of COVID, and I don't think we're allowed whatsoever to do any in person. I don't even know if we're allowed if we get into the green phase to do that. Right now, people are doing some virtual open houses. It's not quite the same. You don't really get to chat with people. But when this does open up again, I tried to host at least 2 per weekend to start. I know some people that did 4. They're usually 2 hours. It's not too long, not too much of your day. Everybody that's coming in is pretty much looking to buy a house. Those are all really, really good leads. Even if it's a nosy neighbor, it's a potential seller. Like, why are they being nosy? Because they want to know what their house is worth, I find I've had most success with open house leads if I follow up right away. Sometimes I'll even do it during it. I think, one, it makes you sound more human, because, let's say they told me they want a house in Fishtown. Oops. Wow, I just closed that out. Let me bring it up. Let's say they wanted to buy a house in Fishtown with like 3 beds, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as they leave, if it's not too busy, I'll look it up on Bright MLS. I don't know if you guys are set up on MLS yet, or if you've played with it, but that's where you search for houses and list them. Let's say I find something. I'll send it to them like in a text even, and I'll just be like, hey, like, I just found this place. Like, I'm here till 3 p.m., but I'm free afterwards. Like, you want to go see it? And basically, you want to strike while the iron's hot, right? Like, these people at that moment are thinking about houses and either buying or selling. So if you wait till the next day, they might be cooled off a little bit, and they may not respond to you. So I get the most responses right away. And if I can't text them during, I'll go home and I'll try to follow up with everybody afterwards. usually what I'll do is I'll send them houses that fit what they're looking for. If they're a buyer, if they're a potential seller, I'll thank them for coming through. I'll maybe, set up see if I could set up a time to come by their house to, compare and see what they could get for theirs. You got to kind of play that one by ear depending on how interested they were. Sometimes another thing, and I should add this to these bullets, another way to follow up with people, if a buyer is like a totally new buyer, like a first-time home buyer, a lot of them don't know anything about the process. And the first thing you want to do, and this is just good for you guys to know as well, the first thing you want to do when you want to buy a home is to get if you're not buying cash, is to get a pre-approval from a lender, because you want to know, that'll give you clarity in your search because it tells you what your budget is. And it's also required, it's required essentially to have a pre-approval letter to put an offer in the first place. And you want that ammunition ready in case you do stumble upon the right house, because chances are if you like a house that you see, someone else does too. And if you're not ready with that pre-approval, like, you might miss the boat. So if they don't have a pre-approval, or if they didn't know about this, another follow-up is that you can connect them to a lender that you work with. And we have at least three that work in our office and that are our partners that you can connect them with. So I've done that before too. I was like, hey, like I work with a great lender. I can connect you with them after this if you want, through email. I have your email address because they'll sign in. And I remind them it's free. I'm not trying to sell them anything, but it'll, I tell them the benefits. It'll give them clarity, get them the ammunition ready. So that's another good thing to do when you're following up. So you can send them listings, or you can connect them with a lender if they're buyers. As they're at the open house, the way you learn about what they're looking for is to ask smart questions. So this takes practice. This isn't going to be, you're going to be a little awkward probably in the beginning. But you just, as soon as they come in, for example, my first question is usually, how did you hear about the open house today? And the reason I ask that is because if they have an agent, they'll say their agent sent them. Or if not, they'll just say, oh, we saw it on Zillow, we saw it on Redfin, or we were walking by. So it's good to know. You don't want to have a full, many times I've had a great conversation with people and it seems like they're about to buy a house, and like this house that I'm at right now, and then they'll tell me they have an agent. It was just kind of like I don't want to say a waste of time, but it's, I could have been talking maybe a different guest that wasn't looking with an agent. So first question I ask is usually, how did you hear about the open house? And that usually tells me if they have an agent or not. I'll ask them, are they from the neighborhood? If not, is the idea to move into the neighborhood? Then, you ask for feedback about the house itself. Like if they don't like, you can say like, what, you can be honest with me. It's not, usually it's not going to be your listing that you're hosting an open house at. So you can be honest with me. It's not my listing. It won't hurt my feelings. And if you get negative feedback, like, oh, we need a third bedroom, this only has two, that's another way that you learn. So you're trying to ask questions to figure out what they're looking for. And basically all you need to know is how many beds they want, what neighborhoods, and a general idea of budget. And then that's enough to really nail down some houses in Bright and then send them to them. That's how I go about it. And the more you talk to people, the more you're able to figure out ways to ask things that aren't being salesy and don't sound too newsy or anything. Now you want to come from contribution, meaning you're looking to solve problems for them. You're not looking to sell. Like most people don't realize when you're hosting an open house, you're not trying to sell that house really. Like obviously that would be great, but the reason you do it is to meet leads, right? And to meet new people. So it's totally okay too to just have a normal conversation with a guest as well that's like not real estate related and just trying to connect with them. Like maybe they have a shirt on that like an Eagles shirt on, and you talk about the game or something. And I don't know, you try to make a connection somewhere. Or maybe when you ask them, oh, you guys from Philly originally? They say, oh, I'm actually from South Jersey. And maybe you're from South Jersey, and you say, oh, like where? And just try to connect on things. I think people work with other people that they like, whether they realize it or not. So if you connect with them, I think it's more likely that they're going to respond to you and stuff, and when you follow up with them. So aside from open houses, and there's a great course that KW teaches too. I don't know when it is or if it was recent. I think it's usually, what's her name that teaches it? Quinn. Oh my God, I don't know why her name just escaped me. Deidre Quinn. Deidre Quinn teaches it. It's called Open Houses, a Lead Generating Gold Mine, and that you can go more in depth in that class as well. But I think most people would agree open houses is the best way when you're starting out to do business. My second thing here is, as I kind of talked about before, social media. I try to post every day something, even if it's not real estate related. Like I just want to post every day. The goal is to stay top of mind. You're not trying to sell things to people. You're not trying to make money off of them. The point is that when they think of real estate, you want them to think of you. You want them to make that association. You're kind of like conditioning them. So, you know, maybe they have a cousin that's like, oh, we're moving, we got to sell our house or something. When that happens, you want it to click in their brain, oh, I have a friend that does real estate. You know, Scott does real estate. Let me connect you with them. I have people that, you know, I could see, like, I'll post something on social media and they'll interact with it a lot. Like everything I post, they'll like it, or they will interact with it, even though we're not really friends. And then maybe like months later, eventually they'll message me like, hey, we're looking to buy a house, blah, blah, blah. Like you can start to tell who's kind of thinking about things too. Again, goal is to stay top of mind, not to sell things to people. You want to mix it with personal things too. I think the ratio that most people recommend is about like 3 personal things to 1 real estate post. But just be authentic. And a lot of people also ask if they should have a separate page for their real estate stuff or mix it with their personal page. I say mix it with your personal page because your circle is already on Instagram. You know, you already have more people there. Not everybody's going to want to follow a separate page. And, you know, you're a realtor, so it is personal. And, you know, it's your work and you love it. So I think you should always mix it in. You can have a separate one if you want, but I would just cross post still on your personal page as well. Just make sure you don't have anything like ratchet on your personal page that's embarrassing, I guess, because people are going to look you up. You know, we all do it. We Google everybody. So it's totally fine to be goofy and stuff. Just nothing crazy, I'd say, for them to find. So yeah, again, and I try to post on Facebook too. Facebook has been moderately successful, not as much as Instagram. I pretty much post the same stuff on Facebook that I'm posting on Instagram. I think I've gotten 1 lead actually from Snapchat too in my first year, which was like a friend of mine that was following me, and I would post the same things on Snapchat. So it can't hurt. The more the merrier, right? Your best, now those are my best lead sources. Your best, I don't know. You have to go out and find out, right? So other things that have worked for other people, networking in general, the more people you meet, the more successful you're going to be. All these agents that you see that are super successful, doing a lot of business, they tend to just know the most people. They tend to have the biggest circles, honestly. So networking in general, anything you can do. Some people do door knocking, literally just knocking on doors, giving people neighborhood stats, or, you know, introducing yourself to the neighborhood as an agent. I've never done it. It's not really my style, but I know like Jerry Wells does a lot of it. He teaches a few classes with us as well. He's a great resource on that and many things actually. But door knocking, I know that he does that for a fact. Some people cold call. I've also, to be honest, never cold called anyone. Everything's always been more organic for me. Social media, open houses, networking. But you can cold call expired listings that no longer have an agent. You can cold call for sale by owners. And there's a lot of software. You usually have to pay to get the software where it'll give you like names and numbers and stuff. Now, some teams provide that as well. So that's another benefit of joining a team. You have to you have to talk to different teams and figure out what's the best fit for you. And Brandon, if you talk to Brandon, he's probably the best at like matchmaking for that. Another good idea is joining your neighborhood association where you live. It's a good way to meet people. People who are in those associations tend to be very into where they live, and if they tend to be ones that are going to be buying homes and selling homes. Because if you're renting in a neighborhood, you don't really join the association because you might not be there forever. But if you own a house, you're probably it's more likely. It's a good way to meet people that are very in tune with what's going on. You might find some stuff out too about the neighborhood, like developments and things that, about different businesses and stuff. A lot of other people, or not a lot of other people, but another way to meet people, join clubs. There's sports teams, online forums. I've actually gotten a couple leads from posting on Reddit. Like I'll go on the Philadelphia Reddit, and sometimes people will ask questions about different neighborhoods. They'll be like, "Oh, we're moving to Philly, blah blah blah," and I'll help them. Like I'll answer them questions, and like they'll actually, I'll kind of segue that into setting up a time to chat and seeing if I can help them. But it's always a no pressure thing. I just offer it. I don't, be salesy again. I'm sure there's other forums too, like local neighborhood stuff. So you basically just want to think of how to meet the most people you can and have conversations with them. So the art of the follow-up. I think the most important thing, one of the most important things to my initial success was just my ability to follow up with people consistently. What I do is on my CRM, which we use Follow-Up Boss. We're not really integrated with Command yet. But whether you're using Command, Follow-Up Boss, any other thing to keep track of your leads, always set up a follow-up task so you don't forget. You don't want to have to leave it on your brain and leave it up to yourself to remember to follow up with someone. You need that bandwidth for other things. Just put it in a automatic list. Set up a follow-up. What I'll do is every day I'll go to my task list where I've set days to follow up with people, and I'll just go through it and follow up. And it's very rote and very easy and thoughtless. And usually when you follow up, I find texting works over email these days. It might seem a little weird and personal, but honestly, it really does get more responses. It's a little less easy to ignore than email. Once in a while, I'll call too. Don't be afraid to call. It's a little weird in 2020 to some people, but it's really not as bad as it sounds. And when I follow up, I try to, again, this term come from contribution. I don't want to just be like, hey, like, did you get my text? Or like, hey, I'm just following up. Like, I'll try to give them something, like a new listing popped up and I'll email it over. Or maybe you have like a home buyer's guide that you can send them, or a new development in the city. Like, anything you could think of, like try to give them something if you can. There's a script for everything. So when I say that, even if they're like totally uninterested, you can always, and this is my last point here, you can always ask them for a referral if they know anyone else that's looking to buy or sell. And if they don't at the moment, ask them to keep your mind in the future. There's always something to say. Okay, so before I forget, when I'm sending people new listings, this is a good tip as well. You can send them through, so what you can do on Bright MLS, I don't know how many of you have familiarized yourself with it yet, but you can set up like an auto search where called Concierge, where you'll get alerts for people depending on the criteria you set up, and you can click and choose like, oh, let's send this over. It comes from like a kind of robotic email, and I do it sometimes, but I try when I can to, I'll do it that way, but what I'll also do is I'll get a link to the listing itself, which, by the way, Bright is stupid, and the only way to do that is to check the box for the listing that you see, to select it, go to email, even though you're not going to email it, and then you're going to click preview to preview the email, and then you copy that URL, and that's how there's no like other way to get a shareable link. It's like from 1993, but you get that link, and what I'll do is I'll send it in a personal email or a text even sometimes, and I want it to come from me and not from like a robotic website. So I'll send that over, and sometimes I'll even insert like a picture in the text or the email, like one picture, be like, yo, like this roof deck is awesome, like sending this over, like what do you think, do you want to see it? You always want to have a call to action with your follow-up, like do you want to check out this house, or do you have time to chat? Like you don't want to leave it up to them. You don't want to say stuff like, let me know if you want to chat, or let me know when you want to buy. Like you want to leave it to them. Let me see. I got a comment here from Riley Inquiry that I totally missed. So Riley was saying the Millionaire Real Estate Agent is on Audible, so you can listen to it while you're driving, audiobook, or whatever you may be doing. And as Corey points out, there's a Home Snap app. Excuse me, and that's how I actually never used it, so I don't want to bullshit you, but I imagine it lets you share the listings, and then the client is kind of linked to you as well once you send it to them. I think that's with the KW app too, as far as I know, where you can send stuff through there, and they'll be linked to you since there. So what was I talking about? So you want to call to action at the end of your follow-ups. So again, you want to, I usually say, like, if I'm sending them listings, I'll say I don't say, do you want to check any of these out? I'll say, which ones do you want to check out? As if you're assuming they're going to like one of them. If I want to meet with them or set up showings for a certain day, I'll, give them options, like give them a couple options, like, hey, I'm free like Wednesday after 3 or Thursday, like, before 5, like, do you want to check this out anytime? Pretty much give them as little work as possible to say, yeah, let's check this out. Like if someone's like, oh, I have to check my schedule, like, to themselves in their head, like they might put it aside and then never get back to you. So make it as easy as possible. Don't leave anything up to them. Don't say, let me know what works. Don't say, let me know like what time works for you. Like give them a couple times and then just say you can be flexible instead of that. Yeah, so that's my advice on following up. Definitely be consistent with it. Don't be afraid to be annoying. Sometimes I'll follow up with people every day if they're like a really hot lead, especially if I can send them something every day, like a new listing. If you're going to wait like a week or two, which feels more natural because we as humans don't want to annoy people, it might be too late. So if you get rejected, if you get ignored, don't take it personally. You're just doing your job. So it's going to happen, but strike while the iron's hot. And that's it for me. So, oh no, I had one more. Be human. So when I'm texting people or when I'm emailing people, I try to purposely make it a little informal while still being as professional as I can, depending on the client. Like, you got to kind of gauge them, but I'll put lowercase letters. Like I don't always capitalize my sentences. Sometimes I'll put emojis in there or multiple, what I'll do is I like to send multiple texts in a row. So like I'll send them a listing and I'm like, oh, by the way, and then in another text, oh, by the way, I'm free this and this day. Another text, let me know. Like, I think it sounds more human and less like it's a automatic spam bot just texting them, because when you send multiple messages in a row, and I try to be goofy and fun when appropriate. Like I don't want to sound boring. Sound like you're in a good mood when you talk to people. So I have a stupid joke here, but basically keep it short. When you're emailing people and texting people, don't give them a whole novel of info. Just people are really busy and you're going to get more responses when it's like 1 or 2 sentences. Whenever I'm crafting a message to send to someone, I'll look at it and my revisions are always, how can I keep this shorter, or what can I cut out and still send the same, have the same message going out. Just keep it short and sweet. You will be rejected, ghosted. You're going to get bitched out a bunch of times. Don't ever take it personally. The way that my mentor Antonio told it to me is people reject the opportunity, not you. So don't let it discourage you. Don't let it get to you. It's basically their way of saying they're not ready now for the opportunity. So the overall message is don't let failure discourage you from anything, because it happens to everybody, and you just got to keep pushing, and you're going to be successful. Let me make sure I didn't forget anything else. Yeah, so that's it for me. If you guys have any questions, feel free to turn on your mics, cameras. You can put it in the chat, like anything whatsoever. If I didn't cover it and you wish I did, or anything even a little bit unrelated, I have my email, my phone, Instagram. You feel free to follow me. Social security number in case you want to steal my identity. But yeah, does anybody have any questions for me?
I'm curious who you played with when you were a musician. I have a lot of local musician friends.
I was solo. I would just kind of play around different bars and restaurants.
Did you play at Dawson Street Pub?
No, I didn't. I played a lot at Landmark Americana, actually, in University City.
Oh, okay.
I played at the Pod Park when that was a thing in Northern Liberties. Played at the Abbey in Northern Liberties. Various places and events.
Your name was familiar, so I'm sure
Mhm.
I'd probably seen you before. So
Probably. Anybody else?
Hey,
Questions?
this is Liz. I just want to say thank you. That was actually really informative.
Well,
I
thank
especially
you.
needed to be reminded to keep it easy breezy. As an accountant, sometimes I tend to be long-winded.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You want to keep it short. Thank you for the
Uh,
positive feedback.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? What do we got? Is anyone, you're welcome, Alejandro. Okay, well, if that's it, again, if you have any questions in the future, you have my email, phone, Instagram, and my social security number. So just contact me however you wish, and I'm happy to help. So thank you guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
thanks.
See ya.